just said color a lot. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing my May TBR. Alright, before I get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what's something you're reading this month. Okay, so I am going to be partaking in mini readathons for May. Part of me is thinking this is a mistake because last time I partook in 3 separate readathons in a single month. I ended up in a reading slump. I'm very excited for all of these, so I can't help myself, okay? But before we get into those, let's first start out with my TBR jars, because honestly, based on what books I get from these, will sort of affect my TBRs for the rest of the readathons. Okay, so first I'm going to start out with a prompt for my digital shelves. Let's see what we get here. Oh, wow. I am not going to complain about this. Shortest book on my TBR. God bless this. Okay, so I have my want to read up. Before I sort by number of pages, I am going to give a little preface and say that I'm only going to pick the book, which is an actual book, a novella, a comic, not a short story. Well, we have a bunch of unknowns, so that's not helpful. So the first one where we actually have pages is for a audiobook exclusive. That's why it only showcases as 8 pages. I think the actual audiobook itself is like 9 hours still, so definitely not the shortest. And then the next one is Into the Gray by Margaret Killjoy, which honestly I am actually hoping to finish reading in April. So the next one is Stephen Graham Jones' Men, Women, and Chainsaws, though. I don't know if this is a short, yeah, this is a short story, so not choosing that. Then we have Superman, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow by Alan Moore. I don't remember why I have this on here because honestly, I'm not a big Superman fan. But you know, I'm trying to read comic books every single month, so I'm gonna take this as a win, and we're gonna go with this. Oh, awesome. Okay, I can get this from my library. So, bam, we have our first book, shortest book on my TBR. And I also knocked out my comics, so that's fantastic. Okay, so next for the physical TBR jar, very hopeful that I don't get a fantasy because I've read a lot of fantasy in April. All right, let's go. I always try and get as down the middle as possible. What is this? Unread author. Oh, okay. Obviously a author I've never read anything from, a new to me author. On one hand, this is great because it's very open-ended, but on the other hand, this could be a problem because I have to be strategic in my choice and try to ensure it's a book that'll work with all the different readathon TBRs. Okay, I think for unread author, I'm gonna go with Crying in H-Mart by Michelle Zauner because this is a nonfiction book, which is one of my little goals I have every single month. It's not too long, like it's a pretty short book. And then also, one of my prompts is to read a nonfiction book. So, we did it. Just realized I didn't really give a synopsis of this book. I don't know what the comic is about, but this one I do know. A memoir by Michelle Zauner chronicling her experience with grief after her mother was diagnosed with cancer and ended up passing away. I've heard pretty phenomenal reviews about this one. I've definitely heard to bring your tissues when you read it. I've also heard to check out the audiobook. I do want to read this, but I am also a little bit nervous. So I also just realized this will work out very well because Michelle Zauner is a Korean woman. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, so that'll work out very well. Clearly, this was just the perfect pick for the month. Okay, so next up, I wanted to talk about a few books that just recently came out that I'm super excited for, and I really want to try and get them read, possibly in a weekly reading vlog. I don't know, I'm still throwing that around. First off, Happy Place by Emily Henry just came out. I've really enjoyed every other book by Emily Henry thus far, and I am so excited to get my hands on this one. I am planning to go buy my own copy so I can annotate it as I'm working through. Honestly, all I really know about this is that we are following these two people who used to be a couple and are going on vacation with their friend group, but they did not tell their friend group that they have broken up. So they're gonna fake date on this vacation, but of course, fake dating is going to lead into some real feelings. While fake dating is not a favorite trope of mine, this is also second chance romance, and that is one of my favorite tropes. I'm excited for this, but also nervous. I can't wait to get my hands on it, but I am a little apprehensive. On the opposite side, In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune recently came out, and of course I'm also very excited to get my hands on this one as well. I haven't heard the best reviews, and that does kind of hurt my heart. I'm still excited, I'm still hopeful. I've heard that it definitely hits on similar feelings as Under the Whispering Door and House in the Cerulean Sea, which automatically makes me excited. This is sort of a Pinocchio retelling where we're following this little family of robots who I think have already sort of had their happily ever after. However, one of them ends up getting kidnapped by like the big bad, whoever that happens to be, and the rest of the family has to go and try and save him. It sounds adorable. I also know it has a queer romance, and it's TJ Klune, so it's kind of hard for me not to be excited about it. Definitely gonna be going to buy a copy of that also. For book clubs, first I am going to be partaking in Jan Agaton's Full Moon Book Club for the month. She's going to be reading Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. I believe that's the author. I'm also a little apprehensive about this one. It's a dark academia book, and I don't hate dark academia, but it's not something I actively love either. However, I've been really intrigued about this because it's been so divisive, and I know we're following this woman who goes to this very elite college where you are completely cut off from the outside world. She starts to find out about like the secret societies there or something of the like. I'm not really sure, but one way or another, I'm excited to read this and to join in the discussion of it. I also will have a book for my personal book club that I do with a few friends, but it hasn't been chosen yet, so yeah, I obviously can't put that in here. All right, so now on to all of the readathons. So first up, I'm going to be partaking in Escape the Readathon, which is being spearheaded by 𝗖cie at Books with 𝗖cie, but there are a ton of different guest hosts, and I will put links for all of that relevant information in the description down below. There are different teams in this group, and I am going to be on the Ghost Tour team because out of all the teams, honestly, it sounds most up my alley. This one, we actually don't get prompts until the readathon officially starts, and it's a whole process that I honestly am not going to be able to explain. I will put a link to 𝗖cie's announcement video in the cards up above, but I'm very excited for this one. Seeing as how we don't know any prompts yet, I don't have official TBR set up, but I am very hopeful that a lot of these books that are already on here will fit for it. Next up is the Smut Den Readathon, which is hosted by the Late Night Crew, and then also has a few guest hosts as well. I am very excited for this. I partook last year. There are 2 different wheels you can spin, which help to lead your TBR. I am going to be sticking with the light side because I tend to lean towards contemporary romances. I believe last year I read 2.5 books, technically speaking, kind of 3. I also didn't pick my TBR going in. I kind of just did it on the fly as I was filming that vlog, which was a lot of fun, but I do need a little bit more planning this time around. So I'm gonna do my first spin, and I have a book that I'm very hopeful I can make work. So let's find out what that spin's gonna give me. Alrighty, so we have our spinner wheel, and what are we gonna get? That is not the book I wanted. Technically, we get 3 respins, so I think I'm gonna respin. Yeah, it's my rules. I can do what I want. It's not my rules actually, but bang, perfect. Oh my god, I'm so excited that that worked. Because the book I have is For You and No One Else by Ronnie Lauren. This is the final book in her Say Everything series. I actually read the first book for Smut Den last year, and I absolutely adored it. And this way, I can buddy read this with Michelle at Michelle's Library. I'm very excited. So in this one, we are following 𝗖cie, who is a therapist, and unfortunately for her, she ends up becoming a meme for the worst first date ever. Coming off that, she ends up meeting, what's his name, Beck, who challenges her to get off of social media for the next 6 months to try and let everything blow over, and then that way she can put her focus on the real world, on her real life, and of course he is going to be her guide in doing this, and obviously sparks are gonna fly. I've adored the first 2 books in this series. Both of those have been 5 stars. I will be very shocked if this does not come out to 5 stars, and also this will be finishing out a series, which is one of my big goals for the first half of this year. I can't wait for this. I'm so glad that worked. Okay, so finally, the last readathon I am planning to partake in is the May the Force Read With You readathon. Of course, I have to. I've partaken in it every year since it started. It's Star Wars, so of course I do. And yes, I will also continue my streak of having a Star Wars-based bullet journal theme. Keep your eyes peeled for that, because I'm very excited. This was the brainchild of Eric at Break-Even Books and his partner Marcus, so I will put all information for this in the description down below as well. Definitely recommend partaking in all 3 of these readathons if you can. So this time around, they actually kind of changed things up, so you are sort of creating your own character. This way, you have a few extra prompts, so of course, I have to do all of them. So starting out, you can actually have a species this time, and I went with a 𝗖liche because I thought that would be a lot of fun, and it'll kind of work with my theme for my bullet journal. So the prompt for a 𝗖liche species is a romance book. Obviously, this is a romance book. Then you can pick which side you're going to be on, light, neutral, or dark. I think I did dark side my first year, I did light side last year, and I'm going to do light side again. So starting out for my abilities, first up, Sever Force, to read a nonfiction book. Crying in Age Mart is going to complete that. Next up is Jedi Mind Trick, to read a book that has a similar synopsis to another book you've already read. Honestly, when I looked at the blurb for Catherine House, I realized it sounds pretty similar to Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Bam. Works perfectly. For Plant Surge, to read a book with nature on the cover and Lives of Puppets. There's all these different trees on the cover, so right there. And then Force Valor, which is to read a book shorter than 275 pages. Obviously, our shortest book on the TBR, comic book, will work for that. Now, I do have the last ability prompt uncompleted right now. That is Transfer Force, to read a borrowed book. Don't know 100% what this is, and I don't really want to put anything in here because chances are the choice for my personal book club I won't own. Probably have to get it from my library, meaning I'm borrowing that book. I do hope that does work here. Then in order to get my weapon, lightsaber, of course, because if I'm gonna be a Jedi, I have to have a lightsaber. You have to read a book with the opposite color of your favorite color on a color wheel. I just said color a lot. So my favorite color is blue, and opposite that on the color wheel is orange. Have not figured this one out, so let me look at my TBR shelves and see what orange books I have. I don't think there's many. Wow, okay, I had very slim pickings, but this works out for continuing a series. 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson. This is the most recent book in her Truly Devious series. I believe this one is also, technically speaking, like a standalone mystery in comparison to the first 3 books, which all follow the same mystery. I know the setting of this one changes, however, because this time we are seeing Stevie in England. She is visiting her boyfriend, David, and of course gets wrapped up into a mystery. I've really adored this series so far. I like Stevie as our teen girl detective. I absolutely adore some of the side characters, Nate in particular. I love him. He's so great. He's such a mood. The one thing I'm not crazy about with this is it's a fair bit chunkier than any of the previous books, so okay, and then lastly, we have our allies. I'm once again going to be sticking with the light side prompts. So first up, for the Rebel Alliance, to read a book with multiple perspectives, I'm going to be going with The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Honestly, after reading The Beautiful Ones, which was more of a fantastical romance, I'm very excited to get into this, seeing as how I've heard, yes, it is a sci-fi, but honestly, it's more of a romance story, and I'm really intrigued to see how Moreno Garcia does that. I absolutely adored The Beautiful Ones, and I'm very excited for this one. I'm glad I know that going into it, so I can kind of set my expectations more properly. And also, it's Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I just know I can trust her when it comes to characters, when it comes to atmosphere, so hopefully this will be a good choice. And then for Resistance, a book which is mostly one color. I think for that one, I'm gonna have Happy Place count because for the most part, the entire cover is completely pink. That works out perfectly. All right, so that is very ambitious. And this isn't including books that I may have to add on for Escape the Readathon, because I have no idea what the prompts with that are going to be like. It makes me very excited, but it also makes me very nervous. All right, y'all, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials, as well as a few ways you can support me, linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!